What's up, guys? This is Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. I hope you're doing well. I'm very excited about today's show. Merry Christmas to you. This is the last show we're publishing before it is Christmas time, and that holds a special place in my heart because if you didn't know, my birthday's on Christmas. And this year is especially important to me because I go from being a 20-something to 30. And those of you who are like, haha, 30's way in my rear view, laughing at me because I don't know anything about life, that's fair. I'll give you your hard-earned wisdom. I'm excited to see what 30, 40, 50, and hopefully 60, 70, and 80 hold for me someday. So this is officially the last publication before Alex enters the world of 30. And we're going to close that amazing 20-something chapter with a fantastic conversation with Bauerpower Fitness. I asked John Bauer from Bauerpower Fitness if he'd come on the show and talk about the transformation stories that he's been doing through Defining Dad Bod. If you're one of our podcast listeners and you don't get to YouTube much, John has been extremely busy working with dads and moms alike and talking through their transformation journeys to understand where they came from, what struggles they faced, why they made the decision to change themselves, and to talk about where they got and where they're going. I won't try to recreate the show here, but I do want to say one of the things that really stood out to me was the conscious decision that people make in order to change themselves for the better. And it was great to connect with John to talk to him about what he's learned from those stories, and even more so, to see how Defining Dad Bod is playing a role to bring those stories out into the world and to give people a platform to share their powerful stories of transformation in order to inspire other people and motivate other people to do the same thing. And so as we get into this show, published just before my birthday while people are drinking hot cocoa, not too much, the sugar is bad for you, and thinking about opening their presents, I want to invite you to contribute to Defining Dad Bod. I see posts all the time on social media like, so-and-so's birthday's here and they're supporting this charity or they're supporting this nonprofit. And since I believe in this movement and since every dollar that's poured into Defining Dad Bod goes to editing, publishing, distributing, and supporting messages like those of the people who share their transformation stories with John, an educational conversation in episodes like the ones that I hold here on the podcast, I'm inviting you to contribute to Defining Dad Bod for my birthday. You can make a monthly contribution through Patreon at www.patreon.com/definingdadbod. Or if you prefer to make it a one-time deal, or there's a specific amount you'd like to contribute that you don't see on Patreon, shoot me an email at coachal@definingdadbod.com. I wouldn't mind opening my email this week and saying, "Happy birthday, Alex. This is for Defining Dad Bod. Use it well." That would start 30 off right. That's www.patreon.com/definingdadbod. Or shoot me an email at coachal@definingdadbod.com. And thank you for listening and contributing to the Defining Dad Bod movement. I'm excited for you to join me and John Bauer as we talk about these transformation stories. And from my house to yours, a blessed and Merry Christmas and a conscious, powerful, and purposeful 2019 to you and yours. What's up, guys? This is Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. I hope you're doing well. Super special episode today. I am joined by none other than the protein-drinking Santa Claus, John Bauer from Bauerpower Fitness. How are you, John?
Protein in one hand, coffee in the other. It's going to be a good day.
This guy, no joke. If you're listening to the podcast version as opposed to the video, this guy's got a Santa. Are those pajamas?
No, it's a hoodie.
It's a hoodie. Okay, it's like a Santa Claus hoodie.
Yeah.
And then he's got a Christmas tree in the background, and the man is literally sipping on a protein shake. So I appreciate you for making that fantasy come alive.
Oh, no problem. I mean, I feel like we haven't talked in a long time on a podcast, and I feel like it's kind of one of those like year-end episodes. I mean, you always watch like a Little House on the Prairie or whatever every year, and like all of a sudden at Christmas, it was like a very special Little House. So this is a very special Defining Dad Bod. Got
That's
the Christmas
right.
tree, the protein. It's actually, and you know what? It's eggnog flavor.
What? You have eggnog flavored protein?
This stuff is. Can I make a shameless plug for a company?
Please, yeah.
Okay, shameless plug for First Form. I do not get anything from them, and so just know this. So they make incredible flavors, and every so often they release special flavors. Over the summer, they released one that literally tasted like a Girl Scout Thin Mint cookie.
Oh.
I could come home and drink a Thin Mint cookie and it wouldn't go onto places on my body where I didn't want it to go.
Yes.
So then this fall, you know what came out this fall? Pumpkin spice latte protein powder. Dude, it was like the real thing. It was like a freaking Frappuccino. It was amazing. And so then last year they had released one Christmas flavor. This year they've released two. Their eggnog is to die for.
Okay.
It's absolutely to die for. And they also have a peppermint bark, which is, I mean, it's great. And I mean, literally what I can do is I can come home at night and I'm craving the sweet stuff. Scoop of protein powder. I've had some eggnog.
I've had eggnog and I'm good.
I've had eggnog.
And wait, I need to pause this interview real quick. I'm about to call First Form because we just commercialed them.
Oh my word! Yeah,
and we should get some. I'm just kidding.
It's amazing stuff.
I'll put a link to Mr. John Bauer's First Form's eggnog protein, but that Santa over here is
great.
Thanks, guys, for joining us for a special episode of Defining Dad Bod. This is special to me because John partnered with me back in May of 2018, this year, it seems so long ago, huh?
I know.
And to bring his particular niche to the fitness world. And I'll let him tell his superhero origin story. He is a Clark Kent Superman figure in the sense that he's a state prosecutor by day, like, sending people to jail for drunk driving, I think it's the
most of it. Yeah. I mean, there's other stuff as well, but
And on the other front though, by night you are a certified personal trainer who also is raising 3 teenagers with your lovely wife, and you guys are a family molding other people through your personal training. And it's funny, you often say that people in your real life don't know what's happening in your online life with training and stuff, and so it's kind of fun to see that unfold. Special guy. I'll let you tell your story.
Oh, thanks, man.
And I'm patting you on the back here. But the reason I'm so excited to hang out with you, man, in this front is because back in May we partnered together to bring the real life stories of people who have changed their lives. Normal guys, normal girls who are living life as parents and stuff, who one morning woke up for whatever reason, then said, I'm going to lose these 100 pounds, or I'm not going to die of a heart attack when I'm 50, or I have suicidal depression and I'm going to change that, or I'm an alcoholic and this needs to change. Like we have heard some amazing stories. And I mean, frankly, the spirit that you bring to the table has allowed them to tell their story and to put it on display for other people to be inspired and to learn from and stuff. So I'm really excited to just talk about those with you today. Before we get into it, though, I want to, 2 to 5 minutes of John Bauer's superhero origin story. How did Clark Kent become Superman? And if you want to hear the whole story, guys, we covered this back in May. Go look at it, but I'd love to hear the highlights here for those who haven't heard it.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, man, I have to tell you, I mean, part of the way that this has all happened is I mean, a lot of it has been my journey, but man, for you to bring me along on this journey, I mean, if you would have told me last December, I mean, seriously, that's like less than a year. If you would have told me last December that by the end of this year, in addition to being a lawyer and a dad and a father and a husband and, involved in church and things like that, by the way, including in all of that, you're also going to be a certified trainer training guys across the country to get healthier. And you're also going to spend time every week talking to people all over the country about stories that they've had about accomplishing great goals for fitness for them, for their family, for their communities and everything else. I would have laughed. I would have laughed. And I still think of when you asked me to do this. I'm like, are you serious? I mean, it's crazy. So I remember it. So I thank you, man. And not only that, one of the reasons I'm so excited to do this is just you and I have become incredible friends. And as much as we've done work together, as much as we have done so much other stuff together, we've done life together. We've really gotten to know each other. We've walked through some tough times for both of us. You've moved, you've got a second kid coming along. I mean, we've gone through transitions together in just a year, and it's been amazing how, it's just been a blessing. We've had barbecue and bourbon together. That was the highlight. That was the highlight.
That was good. That was good.
But I am so thankful for you. I am so thankful for your friendship and your encouragement, because part of my journey a couple of years ago, I was a middle-aged lawyer and in the middle of Missouri, and that's really all I ever that's what I thought life was going to be. My journey in kind of a nutshell, 30,000 foot view. Back when I got married in 1999, you can look at the pictures on my Facebook page. I was 350 pounds, and I've told the story many times that it's awesome that you meet somebody that loves you, that sees inside of you, inside of all of that. Because I didn't even think about the fact that I could change. I didn't think about the fact that I could adapt. And then for me, everybody asks, what's that moment? For me, the moment was, I remember back right after my first one was born 16 years ago, being at home and looking at a picture that somebody took of me holding my daughter, Catherine. She was so small and I was so big. And that was the point when a triple XL shirt just seemed like the biggest weight on my shoulders ever. And so I knew something had to change. I spent probably the first 5 to 6, 7 years focused mostly on diet. And I call it diet then because it wasn't a lifestyle change as it should be. It was Weight Watchers. It was no carb. It was this. And it all worked great. I dropped like 80 pounds in the first 2 years, but it was a beast trying to keep it off, because I was slightly more active, but I hadn't found anything that I really, 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 really enjoyed. Fast forward to 3 kids, a lot of weight up and down, as it always happens. And still it happened. But fast forward to, 2011 or so, people have asked what clicked as far as the fitness part. I think the thing that clicked for me is I started going to a boot camp class at a local rec center. Somebody from my office invited me to go. They knew I was out doing a little bit of stuff early in the morning and invited me to go. And that was the first time that I walked into a place that I worked out with a group of people that I didn't feel judged, that I didn't feel inadequate. That I was just there, that we had fun. It was a great group of people. The leaders of the group were super awesome, fun. Me being the slightly extroverted person that I am, really enjoyed that hour, even early in the morning. So,
underspoken.
Yeah. And it was great. At 5 a.m., there were other people that got up and were like cognizant at 5 a.m. in the morning and worked out. And so it was great. And so that exposed me. And the great thing about that class was we did a lot of different things. We didn't do just one thing. We did Zumba. We did weightlifting. We did, shuttle run. We would go outside when we could. We would do all sorts of different things. And that was the good thing, was it exposed me to more. And that was really my first exposure to weightlifting. Got into it a little more seriously. And then I got sidetracked with a back injury. And you know what? It's one of those things that sometimes the worst things that happen are the best things that happen, because my back injury led me to a chiropractor, which led me to a training facility where they really figured out that even though I'd been doing this stuff, I had a weak core, I had some weak glutes, I needed to address that, spent a few months addressing that, and then started working with these guys at this place, really doing some lifting, and I really enjoyed it. And I got to the point where I kind of felt like all of a sudden, you know what, I could really make a difference and I could really change. And it was the first time where I put some serious health commitments, nutrition-wise, into my life at the same point that I was working out. And, I'll tell you, I've heard this story several times in the interviews I've done, giving up that soda. It's just every time somebody says that, I like just start nodding my head. That was the biggest thing that I did at the point in time where I dropped 60 pounds in 6 months. And I got down to 208 pounds at one point in time. And then it was like, I kind of started thinking, well, I'm not going to keep losing weight all my life. I can't just keep losing weight. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with this. And then that was when the friend of mine suggested the crazy, insane idea of, well, why don't you try a triathlon?
Why not?
And you know what? A few years ago, my mind would have said, no way. I've never done that. There's no way I'd do that. But there was something about it that clicked, about that challenge and about the idea of thinking about doing something that I never would have dreamed of just a couple of years before. And so I took it on. And for 3 years, I got very serious into endurance athletics. I got to the point where at my peak in that, I ended up doing 2 half Ironmans in one season, along with a couple others. And probably over 3 years, I probably did about 9 or 10 different triathlons. Did a couple of half Ironmans, and then for the triathlon and endurance geeks, a couple of years ago up in Chicago, I did a great thing. And if you ever can do it, it's a great race to do, where I did a super sprint, which is a really short triathlon, a sprint, which is a little bit longer triathlon, and an Olympic triathlon. I did all 3 in 2 days.
Oof.
And you know what? It was scary. But the thing that was different was by that point in my transformation, in my journey, my mind had changed that I was really ready to take on the challenge. And it was a top 10 athletic day. It was a top 10 athletic day. Still remember it vividly. Still remember how excited I was, how well it went. And, it was great. And then got done with that. And I decided to take a little break, did a little bit of mountain bike riding, and I still do that. But then I turned around and I started working in the weight room. And I had done some, but not a lot. And I started doing something really different. I started working with an online trainer. I was very, very skeptical. I didn't understand. After years of working face-to-face with a guy, I did not understand that working with an online trainer would work. And let me tell you, it was great. It really depends a lot on the person who's working, and it depends a lot on the trainer himself. But it really, really was great. And I really enjoyed it. And all of a sudden, here I am, I'm deadlifting. I'd never deadlifted before a year and a half ago. I'd never done a squat before a year and a half ago. And, here I was once again taking on this concept of something brand new and just going for it and enjoying it. And I mean, we've been a part of a couple of good communities online that have really been encouraging about fitness. That's really helped. There's some great guys that have helped. Larry Hagner has been a great encouragement. Chris Hughes has been a great encouragement. They've both been fantastic. Other friends of ours, Nick, Mickey, I mean, just tons of guys. And I'll forget names, but they've all been real encouraging. And it was very exciting. It's real exciting because as I look back, I remember when I turned 40 that I was able to look at myself and say, I'm in better shape at 40 than I was at 30. When I hit 50, which is now over a year ago, I'm 51, I was again able to look back and say, I'm in better shape at 50 than I was at 40. And look at what I accomplished in my 40s. Yeah, I know, seriously. It's a little bit nerve-wracking because there's something a little bit different about 60 that says, what will that be like? And so you begin to adjust a little bit, but it's been a great thing. And then about a year ago, I mean, probably pretty darn close to almost the date, I was working with Chris Hughes, who's a great guy. And we talked back and forth. And one day he said to me, he said, you ought to get certified as a personal trainer. And I was like, dude, I'm 50 years old. I'm a lawyer in the middle of Missouri. I'm not going to go work at Gold's. What would I do that for? And he goes, you could do what I do. And I go, please. I'm a middle-aged lawyer in the middle of Missouri. That's always my default line. And it was, I thought about it. I thought, yeah, it'd be kind of fun. And, it was a great thing. In addition to all of this physical transformation, so much of my life had changed. My family had gotten closer. Kids are getting older. We're still getting closer. Marriage has been great. I was able, and this is the point where I brag on my wife, because anybody who does all this has got to brag on his wife for a little bit. So I go to my wife a year ago and I go, hey, and I'm thinking, what is she going to say when I bring this up? I said, I'd really like to get certified as a personal trainer. And I'm just, you're saying it and you're cringing almost before the words get out of your mouth, because you're thinking she's going to look at you like you completely lost it.
Mm.
And you know what's amazing is she looked at me and she goes, I have one question. And I said, really? I mean, that surprised me. I'm thinking, oh boy, this is going to be a big one if it's just one. She goes, are you willing to make sure that you still make time for your family if you do this? I was in shock. That was not, I mean, I expected her to say, you're crazy. We can't afford to do that. What, are you going to make any money out of this? What are you doing this for? Who's going to do this? It was great. And, we talked about it. And at one point later, after I'd started it all, I said something there. I said, I was pretty amazed at what you said. And she looked at me and she goes, who am I to crush a dream? I mean, that's, yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. That's not about me. That is about the caliber and quality of woman that I, after 19 years, has adapted, because she frequently comments, and I acknowledge it. She looks at me and she goes, you are not the same person that I married 19 years ago. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, none of it. And I'm like, you're right. And she has adapted, and talk about, transformation. It's not just a physical thing. It's been every phase. And I am thankful to have a woman who has walked alongside of me every step of the way. So,
No, there's so much to your story, which if anybody wants to dive into the whole kit and caboodle of Mr. John Bauer's story, back in May, we published that as the first transformation story on Defining Dad Bod. So if you want to check that out, I'll put that in the link in the description below. But one of the things that I love about your story is it's very real that it was a journey, and it's still a journey. And as the father of 3 adolescents right now, because in my mind, that's the demographic, right? You've got, we talk a lot about babies on the show because, that's where I'm at. I've got a 3-year-old, I've got a baby on the way, but you have, what are their ages? You've got a 16-year-old in the house?
14 and 11 going on 12 next month.
There you go. 2 boys, 2 girls. The oldest 2 are girls, and the youngest is a boy. I had them flip-flop. But that is super sweet kids, super cool. I love seeing your posts with them. We'll get to your transformation stories in a second and your takeaways there, but I love seeing your posts about them, because you're talking about a world I have no idea about. Like you're talking about going to concerts. You're talking about, writing workouts for your oldest for her athletics and stuff, like coaching your son's basketball. Can you give, because I know there are men and women who listen to the show who have teenage kids. Can you give some chicken soup for the teenage parent soul here? Like, what's going on in your world? What's the fun stuff look like? Because I'm always talking about little kids. Yeah,
this is without question. And I think I say this almost daily to somebody now. This is absolutely my favorite stage of parenting. It is absolutely amazing. And the thing I would say to parents of little kids like you, do not let people throw you into this mentality of, hold on, buckle in, it's going to be a nightmare when they get to be a teenager. Because I had people tell me that when my oldest was born. Oh, just wait till she's a teenager. And I decided right back then, I refused to buy into that story. And I am so glad, because I could not be happier. I love this stage. You see parents at whatever stage that their kids are at, it does to a certain level justify their behavior at that stage. You'd love to play with little kids. You get to be a little kid. You have teenagers, you get to be a teenager sometime. And it's fun. And I mean, it's fun to go to Taylor Swift and Niall Horan concerts with my kids. It's fun, to go to hockey games. It's fun to go to basketball games. It's fun to take my son on a boys' weekend wherever we go. We went to Louisville last year. We're going somewhere else this year. It's fun to have those things. It's it's wrong to be afraid. I think we're kind of preconditioned to be afraid of this phase. Oh man, no, embrace it, because the conversations that you start to have, and I think back to what a friend of ours says. She always refers to teenagers, and this is kind of funny. She refers to them as future people. And it's very true. And you begin to see in the teens and tweens, you begin to see what those future people are really going to be like. And it is, it's fun to do that. It's a little emotional to take your oldest on her first college visit. I won't lie.
I bet.
But at the same point in time, it was awesome. You're really, you got that dark shadow right about here.
Sorry,
that's mood lighting if I've ever seen it.
That's right.
It's emotional to do it, but for me, when I did it a couple of months ago, it was amazing to watch her eyes light up. It was like Christmas morning for her. She just saw that there's a whole new world out there for her. And it's great. The greatest thing for me about that is to be able to sit down and have very real conversations with your kids. You want them to walk into whatever they're into with their eyes open. And that becomes very clear when you're like, all of a sudden you're like, if I don't tell them what's going to happen to them at college, I'm done. And you realize that this is the chance to really give them an eye-opening lesson of what life is going to be like in college and what life is going to be like after college. And you don't want to do it in a way of, study into your job. You got to get used to doing your job. You want to tell them and explain that, it's so much is out there and it's all there for the taking. They need to know the worldview that they're going to approach it with. And that's the thing to challenge them and say, you've been studying this, and this. It's really time to start putting those things into practice. And you're going to have an opportunity, and you're going to be able to figure out, when I get to college in a year and a half, am I going to go out and have fun till midnight? Or am I going to study till 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock and then go out for a couple hours? How am I going to balance that? There's going to be times you're going to do the wrong thing, and you're going to pay the price for it. And there's not going to be anybody there, to do it for you. There's not going to be anybody there to complain. Mom and I will be in bed asleep at midnight because you're not studying here anymore.
Take that.
Yeah. You can call in the morning, but don't call us at midnight. No, I mean, I'm kidding, but I mean, seriously. And it's a great opportunity to have real conversations. I mean, it's so hard with toddlers and younger kids, because how much do I tell them? How much do I, this is your chance. It's now or never. And it kind of takes the nerve off. It's just like, I need to do this before they walk out the door. So
I love that. It's now or never. That's so great. And I think that many people don't realize this, but when a child's developing, there's a lot of neurological things that happen on the inside. But in adolescence, those frontal lobes, the part of you that thinks about the future, and the part of you that chooses the words wisely to say, or the part of you that decides to study rather than go out with your friends, or go out with your friends and then study on Thursday a lot to earn that, that part of you, that we like to think that we make choices about what we would like in our lives, but we get about 5%. That's the current neurological research. About 5% of what we do is conscious. And that is currently being grown in adolescence. That 5% of control that you have over your life and your thoughts and your feelings and your desires and your plans and whatnot, that's when that's happening, is in those teenage years. And that's hard. It's really hard, but I love that you approach it with such a open spirit of excitement to get to know that 5% of your kids. That's huge.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really, I think somebody said this once, and I don't remember where I heard it, but it's a great thing to keep in mind at any stage, but especially at teen and tween age. When your 30-year-old kids are sitting around at a bar with their friends some night, what do you want them to tell them about you? That's the way to remember. I mean, you may not reap the rewards of telling them this stuff right now. it may be 15 years down the road, but when they're 30 and they're sitting around some night with a bunch of friends at a bar or at home or, whatever they're doing, what do you want them to say about you as a parent? That's kind of the filter to go through.
Good thought, man. That's worth meditating on daily if you've got teenage kids. I mean, I guess if you have younger kids too.
Any age. Yeah, absolutely any age.
So I want to dive into these transformation stories you've been doing.
Yeah.
Now you were doing them prior to doing them on my show. I know that you worked with.
I was doing them every once in a while with Chris. Yeah. But I mean, this was kind of the first time we really plunged and made it an absolutely consistent, constant thing. And I mean, we did it for a few months, but it was just hard because one of the things I think we've talked about before is just the platforms on which we were using them. I mean,
yes,
we did Facebook Live, and Facebook Live was fun, and it was kind of like spontaneous, but it was also spontaneous in whether it worked or not.
Yeah, so, technologically, battery phones die, internet connections go out.
Had it all happen.
It was quite a mess. I mean, and on one hand, it was cool because you could see people are viewing and commenting and asking questions and whatnot, which is awesome. But on the other hand, if this was something we wanted to put out valuable for people regularly,
exactly,
you can't be expecting it and then carve out time in your workday to catch the Transformation Tuesday, and then it didn't work. So anyway, we migrated to the the YouTube platform and whatnot. But in the course of doing this, one of the things I think is really interesting to me is a lot of people don't know where we get these people from. the transformation. Some people will reach out and talk about they've made a change. And some of them have been friends of your and mine where we're like, we know you've had an amazing transformation. I'd love to bring you on and talk to you about your story. But more recently, in the past few months, we just reached out to a group and said, hey, who in here?
Teenagers, I have them all dancing in front of me. Right?
Oh, nice. Yeah. gotta make their debut.
Yeah, they had to make their entrance known. Yeah,
with the cha-cha and merengue,
it's more the dab and the floss these days. Yeah,
the dab and the floss.
The dab and the floss.
I see them doing weird.
I have been known to do both of those things, but not frequently. I have been known to do both of those things because one of the things, one of the most important things that a parent can do is at appropriate times embarrass the crap out of their kids. That's the most important thing they can do.
That knuckle bump to Missouri right there.
Exactly.
So, excuse me. When we launched this, we had friends and stuff coming in, but at the same time, we were like, well, I'm sure there are more stories out there. So we literally reached out to a group of dads, I think over 10,000 dads, and we said, who in here has significantly changed their life through health and fitness? Yeah. And it was crazy. Like we had literally 100 people, if not more, comment and tell us just the most amazing stories. It was like, you get those Politico posts on Facebook, and then you see hundreds of comments and everybody's just angry and they're spewing this stuff but it was like the absolute reverse emotion, whatever that is. It was just a whole thread of just life-changing sentences.
Yeah. Pictures, everything. Yeah.
Exactly. And I just asked, hey, are you willing to come on a show and share your story with people? And that's where a lot of these people have come from is just they've changed their lives and they don't mind sharing it. And it's not like, hey, I'm building a fitness business and I'd really like to get on your show. Like I've lost 100 pounds. Come look at my abs in my program. Like these are real people. Yeah. And John, you've sat down with them and you've talked about their stories. You've talked about childhoods and you've talked about marital problems and you've talked about, alcoholism and drug abuse. And you've heard a lot. I would love to hear from you. What are some highlights of this year? Because you've sat down with just about everybody from every walk of life. The only thing that's common among everybody is their parents who have changed their lives with health and fitness. Yeah. What have you taken away from that? I mean, it's probably hard to put that in a couple points, but I would love to hear.
It is hard, but I think the thing that, it surprised me because I think when I started doing it, I think I expected that it was going to be another, a week after week of run-of-the-mill stories of people losing weight and people, getting healthy and things like that. I think the stories that have moved me the most are the people who have overcome so much more: failed marriages, heroin addiction, alcoholism, childhood abuse. I mean, it's all in there, and it's all been part of their story that they've overcome. And I mean, just like so many other things, food covers that up, and lack of exercise, guys getting engaged in video games instead of getting outside. All of those things cover that pain up. And it's amazing sometimes to see stories of people who really can get that they've got something that they've got to solve. And it's not always people turning to them and saying, hey, you got to quit doing this or something like that. It's people, everybody's kind of got it in them somewhere, something in them somewhere saying, there's got to be better than this. I can do better than this. I can do something better to improve my life. Mm-hmm. They come from nowhere a lot of times because this stuff just brings them to the bottom. And, you talk about in addiction, finding the bottom point. There's the same struggle for people with health and fitness. I mean, whether it's the guy who, I talked to a guy last night who's 5'8", and, he was over 200 pounds. And then I talked to a guy who was not incredibly heavy, but his cholesterol level was 1900. I mean, the doctors were blown away that he even could be alive with that kind of cholesterol and what he was going to need to do. And, the cholesterol stories, the diabetes stories, the medications, the sleep apnea, all of these things are just, these are the things that people are just like, kill them. And sometimes some people just, they can't get past those, but these are stories of just really fighting through that. And it is so much more than just health and fitness. It's battling all of those things. I think the other thing that has struck me over the course of doing these is that fitness, and we talked about this before, that fitness looks very, 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 very different for everybody. It's not the concept that we all have, or that probably a lot of people who aren't working in the industry have, that if you're fit, you're built, you got muscles, you got a six pack, like 2% body fat, and you're deadlifting 500 pounds. That's what everybody thinks as healthy. Health and fitness is a lot of different things. Health and fitness is just getting those cholesterol numbers and blood pressure numbers down for some people. Health and fitness is losing 100 plus pounds for some people. For other people, all they need to do is lose about 30 pounds and they're solving the other problems. Health and fitness is, and again, you talk about it in the context of different athletics. Someone who cycles, someone who lifts, someone who does jujitsu, their concept of fitness is all going to be different. There's no one look, there's no one, form for fitness for all of those things. I talked to a guy who is a marathon runner. The dude doesn't want big muscles because put on muscles, you get a little strength, all endurance, but you're also carrying extra weight. And then, you talk to guys who are in the fitness industry, they're much more, they've lost the body fat because that was the struggle that they had. So the importance is also, it looks different. And, and I even struggle with this because comparison is an awful thief. And so many people don't do what they need to do because they're comparing. And I do it too. I'm guilty of it just as much as the other guy. And it's a struggle. And it's a struggle to remind yourself. I mean, it's a struggle for me to remind myself that, I'm in really good shape. I'm not where I want to be weight-wise, but I go and deadlift every Friday morning. That's part of my Friday, and I also need to remember I'm 51. I have a lot of friends and a lot of people in this industry who are 20 years younger than me, 15, 25 years 20 years younger than me. It's hard not to compare, but comparison is the thief of joy. And so it's really finding the individual concept of what health and fitness looks like for you and what it's going to look like that works in your life, with your kids, with your family, when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it. Are you going to engage your family? Are you not going to engage your family? Are you going to go on some crazy diet that's going to make cooking a meal an absolute insane job for your wife? Or are you going to work to adapt your diet so that it's not this big, huge battle every night? There's just so many aspects that are so different for everybody. And, you know, I did an interview just last night, and I'll drop this little hint. I have never in 8 months of doing interviews, I've never done an interview where somebody said it's okay to go have a double cheeseburger from McDonald's. This guy did it. But it made sense because he's worried about carbs, and he does it like once every 2 weeks before he goes to his jujitsu.
And that's his thing.
If he doesn't carb up like that, he's going to go in there and he's going to feel foggy, and he's not going to be able to do his jujitsu. But it was just a really funny thing because I was like, we've never had this conversation before. We've never talked about fast food in a positive light before.
That's fun.
So, but I mean, it just goes to show it's different for everybody, and it doesn't take as good as you want it to be. It's not always going to be 100%.
So there's so much there that I really want to unpack, but I also want to be respectful of everybody's time here. Two things that really stand out to me, though, and I can't just let them go by. I have to say something about them. One, you bring this idea forward that it's deep. I think it's worth a whole show. It's deep, though, and it's that comparison, as you said, is the thief of joy. In the world today, when we think about health and fitness, what do we have? We have pictures of healthy, fit people, quote unquote. We have supplement companies marketing to us. We have the ideals that are out there. I mean, even in some ways, Defining Dad Bod works to, I personally work to, as a business, put out an idea out there of what it means to be healthy and fit for your family. Not necessarily 500-pound deadlifts, but the point is that there's a plethora, especially on social media, of opportunities to compare yourself in a split second. It's like 1 second, 2 second, 3 second bites of like, am I doing well? Yes or no? Am I doing well? Yes or no? And you know, overwhelmingly, you hear no. You suck all day long. Like that's what you hear. And I think it's because of the time frame. 1 second, 2 second, 3 second bites of the ideal, right? Whereas when we're talking about a platform like this, where you're interviewing people's stories, if we would take 20 minutes, 30 minutes to listen to some real person's story about their change, you start to hear comparisons in your life that aren't all negative. And it's not like, maybe if they could do it, I could do it. It's not even that. It's just like, oh, I can really resonate with the feeling of driving home and having a craving for something sweet and what that actually like looks like. You know, this person lost 100 pounds, but when I compare my life to theirs, we're not really that different.
Right.
And you don't get that in a picture. You don't get that in a picture or a little status blurb or whatever. The only way to do that is to, or at least as far as I know, unless we can download these things into our brains someday, the only way to do that is to spend the time hearing a story like the ones that John's coming up with. So I really, that sticks out to me because the view that this is a journey is unique among, or at least most of the trainers that I know. Most trainers know this.
Right.
Core of their being, because we meet people regularly and help them on 6 month, 12-month, 5-year, whatever it is, journey.
Right. Yeah.
But most people who are looking on social media and seeing those comparisons of health and fitness are not seeing those 6-month, 12-month, 5-year struggles. We're seeing the before and after picture. We're seeing the 12 pounds I lost with keto in 2 weeks. Like we're seeing that stuff and constantly telling ourselves either one, we're not doing enough, or two, what we're doing is sucking at life, basically. That's it reminds me a lot of, and there's several different versions of it floating around out there, but it's the iceberg picture. We see the tip of the iceberg, literally. And I mean, there's some really good ones out there. I think there's actually like almost a real picture of an iceberg that exists where it shows like the top of what you actually see above the ocean surface. And it's literally like a quarter of what's under there. And that part that's under there represents everything that we don't see
as people go through whatever they're going through in life, the struggles, the ups and downs, the yo-yo weights, the bad diets, the bad lifts, whatever, the races the races you didn't finish, the hours that you're putting in to get to a race and then you don't finish. Those are the things that are under the surface, and those are not the things that most people show. I know when I post stuff, I really try sometimes to post, whether it's good or bad, and I mean, there's a few people that will do that will show, that they left or they didn't get whatever. So that's, I think that's important to see and important to remember. If we don't see, it's out there.
And the other thing that you brought up that I really wanted to make sure that I hit on here was the the turning points and the struggles that people have in their journey. It's unique and personal to them, and sometimes the way around it is not the company line of health and fitness. In fact, many times it's not the company line of health and fitness. It's not as simple as cut out fast food, all of it, forever. Yeah. And you're dumb if you eat fast food. It's not that simple. For some people, I was talking to a lady recently, and you and I both know as trainers that the deadlift is hamstrings, glutes, lats, erector spinae, core. It's an amazing foundational lift, super, super important. This lady has 3 reconstructed lumbar vertebra, and deadlifts outside of picking up grocery bags, deadlifts cause a certain level of what we call spinal stenosis, which is inflammation around the nerves that cause pain to shoot down both legs. And it's not even in the deadlift, it's 3 days later. Wow. And so for her fitness journey is deadlift free, basically. And some people would be like, you and I would be like, I would cry about this. I would rather lose a toe than lose my deadlifts, but it's so personal that there are some very large scale recommendations that we can make as trainers and say, hey, this is probably good for everybody. Cutting out soda is probably a great idea for everybody, right? But when you get down to the nitty gritty of people's stories, those personal life hacks, so to speak, or obstacles that they've had to overcome, that's really where your individual legacy from health and fitness, in my mind, where it really separates from everybody else, because nobody's you, genetically speaking. Literally nobody is you, right? And then even if there was a genetic copy of yourself somewhere, that person's not had the same experience as you, that person doesn't have the same career as you, that person doesn't have the same regular lifestyle. That person doesn't have the dabbing teenagers to the side trying to distract you from your current podcast recording. John's a focused champ, by the way. I can tell his kids are messing with him right now, and he's like, "Hey, you, I've got my eye on you."
I'm a pro now. Can't do it.
But anyway, that really stands out to me, and I think on one hand, hearing that in the stories that you're bringing out of people it's encouraging and inspiring in a way that encourages and inspires me and anybody listening to have the courage to face those individual challenges. Like when you go to the doctor, the last thing you want to hear is for them to say, I've never seen a case like yours. I'm sorry. Nobody knows what to do with you. But in health and fitness, that's literally every single person's journey is I'm different. I'm a snowflake special person, not in a condescending way. I am my own set of problems that have to be managed and challenged. And I think hearing that other people can do it, other people can, rise up and overcome, especially if those things seem to make some of your challenges feel like small potatoes. We had a guy on here, heroin addiction. Okay. If you've never been addicted to something that would make you shove a needle in your arm, and to know that he overcame those things and that he would tell you, if he can do it, you can do it. That's amazing. And I just think it's so cool that you're bringing that out of people. And I think that's something that I really get it's like chicken soup for the trainer's soul, if that's a thing.
No, it is. It's exactly that. I mean, and that's the thing. I think after having done it for all this, most of this year, that's the thing I think that surprised me the most. I didn't expect these interviews to affect me. I expected to do the interview, pass it on to the audience, let them consume it, and be inspired. I walk away, and I mean, I have frequently told people after their interviews, that was amazing. You inspired me. You encouraged me.
And I thought about you all day.
Yeah. And, and then, they'll comment or something on my feed on Instagram or Facebook. And I'm like, wow. I'm like that, then you like, cause that person, their story and that they're taking time to say something to you. It's not just, like random person. It's just, it's great to feel that connection and feel that inspiration and think, I've hopefully encouraged them a little bit. They're certainly encouraging me. I just didn't expect to get out of it what I did.
I have one more question for you, brother, before we let you go make good use of that Santa hoodie and eggnog.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to know, when we first started this together, when I started this movement, I had an idea of what defining dad bod means, and then you've followed a lot of the work that I've done with this, and then you've been a part of it since May of this year. And I know that you started with an idea in your mind of what defining dad bod means. And now you've done this work. You've talked to a lot of different people. You've seen it from the perspective of a trainer and an interviewer, as well as a participant in the journey. What has defining dad bod evolved or changed to mean for you, if anything?
I think that I had that monochromatic view of it too. I think that I had that monochromatic view because we all know what the whole phrase dad bod used to mean, and the first few interviews when I would ask people, that's what they say. Well, there's this whole joke about having a dad bod and the beer belly and all of that, and it's getting away from that. But it is that, but it is finding what is going to make your work as a dad and as a husband. And I include both because for me, they're one and the same in many ways, but finding what's going to make your work in those areas better for everybody. And it's very different for everybody. Finding out for me what that means, finding out for, the guy in California who's pastoring a church, finding out for the guy who's the elevator operator in Pennsylvania, finding out for each one of them that it is something different that is working for them. And so there is no one way to define it. That's what I have learned is there is no one way. It is, everybody has their own definition. There is a consistency of improvement. There's a consistency of health. There's a consistency of fitness. There's a consistency of being present. I think those are the things that are consistent, but beyond that, it's different for everybody. And I didn't expect that.
So it's the conscious process of defining that for yourself.
For yourself. Yeah, exactly.
That's powerful.
Exactly.
I have my last thing for you, man, is I just want to hear what you're excited about in 2019. And then I'll let you get into the Christmas spirit and go for the
no. I mean, I'm excited to keep doing the training. I'm hoping to find a few more people to do it and just continue to improve myself on it. But continue to work. And I was going to say, when you were talking about that before, it's fun to work with the people that I work with because it is something that when you do this, you're not just doing physical stuff. You're working with what's going on in their minds. And I love that. Talking and getting to know people. That's my thing. And so it's a great way to do that. So I'm looking forward to that. I am looking forward to, I'm going to have all junior high and high schoolers next year. I'm going to have a senior in high school by the end of 2019. So it's really looking at what is next, beginning to move even beyond this stage of parenting. And, what does that look like as far as being a dad? What does it look like as being a husband? Because, all of a sudden it's going to get a little bit quieter every few years around the house for the next few years. And so, we're enjoying that. We're enjoying the flexibility and independence that offers us. It's just, new things keep happening. Do I know what's going to, I had no idea what the end of 2018 would look like. I can't be so foolish to say what 2019 is going to look like. God knows. That's the only thing, and I'm really glad of that because I have no clue. And I'm just, I'm glad to have kids and a wife and friends like you to walk through it all and share it all and celebrate it all and just see what happens next.
Man, I'm so excited for 2019. Do you have a feeling that this is just going to be like an epic year?
Yeah, I haven't started. I just started to think about it because you get Christmas and then all of a sudden you're thinking about the next year. Yeah, I'm curious to see.
I'm going to explore it a little further. I'm going to talk to everybody about it after I get a chance to think about it soon, but it's just this like feeling. It's just going to be epic. So, man, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate you joining me, John. You are, big virtual hug from
it is just it's been an absolute, you have just been an absolute blessing, an absolute joy. And I know you got a lot going on next year, and so it's going to be fun to watch you go through that and just see where it all takes you. So
well, and trust me, everybody's going to hear about it here too. You're probably taking me. I can't be quiet about this stuff.
Absolutely, guys. Not.
This has been Alex Van Houten with Defining Dad Bod. John Bauer from Bauerpower Fitness Consulting, joining me to talk about the transformation stories we've done and how they're launching on YouTube now. Thanks so much for coming on, John. And I hope that you and your family have an amazing Christmas and a happy.
You too. Enjoy it. I know it's going to be fun, and it'll be a little less crazy than the one next year. So enjoy it.
To everyone else, kick butt, take names.